Extraordinary success in any sphere of life, it could be business, politics, or even military, depends how leaders help others to discover their best. Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters, and my dear guests. In summer of June 1880, a cute little girl, Helen, was born in an affluent family of Arthur and Kate Taylor. Helen was a healthy child like any other girl of her age and darling of her parents. However, when she was just 19 months old, she was infected by meningitis, which left her both blind and deaf. So at a tender age of just 2 years, Helen lost her eyesight and hearing sense. In front of her was a black world where she was isolated in the darkness of her own existence. Trapped by her inability to see, to hear, she became extremely unruly, spoiled child. But she was very bright. She tyrannized the entire household with her temper tantrums. Every day, she broke something, cried loudly, or created a mess around the home to seek everybody's attention. Her parents, Arthur and Kate, were at their wits' end, trying to control her irritable and obnoxious behavior. Their frustration grew to an extent that Arthur one day decided to send Helen to an asylum. Kate was offended by this thought, and they both had a big fight that day. After some time, Arthur went near Kate and said, "Look, if you don't want to send her away, then you have to find some way to control her behavior." Kate was appalled by the misery of her sweet little daughter. She started meeting various doctors and physicians to find a way out, and eventually reached Perkins Institute of Blind, where she met Dr. Michael Angelos, the dean of the school. After hearing Helen Keller's story, he appointed Annie Subilia, one of their brightest students, who was also half blind, to become Helen Keller's new instructor. Helen's mother had great expectations from Annie, as she had heard a lot of good things about her. Annie was a strong-willed and straightforward person. However, she was not pleasantly welcomed by Helen. Helen threw all sorts of tantrums on her. She always hated being near her. She never listened to her. She hated leaving her mother and going near Annie. At times she even kicked Annie when Annie tried to go near her. Annie believed that Helen is extremely energetic and bright child, and her energy is needed to be focused in right direction by teaching her to communicate with words. Annie started teaching Helen to communicate, but to control her temper tantrums, she had to be rough and strict with her. Helen's father was annoyed seeing Annie's teaching techniques. He was offended seeing Annie's aggression over Helen. After all, Helen was a sweet little daughter, and no one in their home treated her this way. Annie started teaching Helen to spell words by making motions on her hand. She started with the word doll, as that's what the present she had brought for her. Helen was frustrated at first, as she didn't know that every object is identified by a word. Her frustration grew to an extent that when Annie was trying to teach her to spell the word mug, she became so angry, she broke the mug in front of her and started crying loudly. Helen's father saw her cry and yelled at Annie, "Can you please show some sympathy towards my daughter?" Helen sensed her father's presence. She ran and hid behind his legs. Annie walked up to Arthur, looked in his eyes, and replied, "It's of no use trying to control or protect Helen's behavior, as the only hope is she learns to do it for herself." Can you imagine how difficult it is to teach an 8-year-old girl who can't see, can't hear, to spell few words? Annie tried her best to teach Helen, but in spite of her rigorous efforts, she couldn't teach Helen much, and was about to give up until one fine day when Helen realized the motion which her teacher was making on one of her palms and the cold water which was flowing from another palm. At identified the idea of water. She understood it and made the same motion on her teacher's hand. She then tapped ground, demanding to know its letter name. Annie spelled the word on her palm. She started touching a few other things around her. Annie spelled all those words for her. And by the end of the day, Helen had learned 30 new words. In the evening, Annie took Helen to her parents. And for the first time, Helen spelled her parents' name in their own hands. Arthur and Kate were touched by their daughter's achievement and couldn't stop tears from rolling up their eyes. This began a 49-year-long relationship between Annie and Helen. Helen Keller went on to become world-famous speaker and author. She was advocate for people with disabilities and numerous other causes. In 1915, she started Helen Keller International, which is focused in subjects of research of health, vision and nutrition. Currently, it has presence in 22 countries and serves 1 million people every single year. How many of us who are completely fit have made this kind of impact? In the year 1964, she was awarded America's highest and most prestigious civilian honor, that is Presidential Medal of Freedom. Helen Keller met all the US presidents of her era, and her accomplishments were appreciated by great minds like Charlie Chaplin, Mark Twain, Alexander Graham Bell. This all was possible because her mentor helped her to find strength within herself. And that's what great leaders do. Leadership is never about you, it is always about people you lead. Because the only reason you are a leader, because you have people to follow you. Tom Peters once said, great leaders don't create more followers, they create more leaders. As that's how Dhirubhai Ambani created Reliance Empire. That's how Gandhiji got us freedom. They all created more leaders so others could find and create their own destinies. And honestly, friends, this task is not so difficult. So my challenge to all you potential leaders is, in all your possible people interactions, never lose out on opportunity to make someone else genuinely feel special. A simple appreciation, a simple acknowledgement of good work, or affirming how others' efforts is impacting your life will take you far ahead in your leadership journey. And this attitude shouldn't be restricted to Toastmasters speech evaluation, but all your life interactions. Over to you.